o'clock p.m. This is the City of Maplewood Community Design Review Board. And so we are now called to order, and then roll call. Let's see here. We got, we have a quorum, I see. And I'm here. We've got Jason Lammers is here, Anand Shankar, and our newest member, Tom Osmond. I believe there's one member that is not here, but that constitutes a quorum. So we will move on to the approval of the agenda. Staff, anything to add or subtract, etc.?
Staff and board, staff does not have any changes to the agenda as presented.
Okay, anything from the board?
No.
Okay, I will call it. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda for the December 21st Community Design Review Board.
Okay, do we have a second? I'll second. Okay, oh, Tom, we'll take your second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote to approve. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. It sounds like it's unanimous. We will move on to the approval of the minutes of September 21st, 2021. Staff, any changes, etc.?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the minutes as presented.
Board, any amendments?
I have no amendments. And as I was present at that meeting, I will motion to approve those minutes from the September 21st.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second.
And Anand Shankar moves to second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 in favor. I'm abstaining. Any opposed? It carries. So the minutes are approved. Let's move on to now new business. Number 1, design review, Ridge Periodontics at 3033 Hazelwood Street North. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board. On your screen right now should be a presentation. Can you just confirm with me you're seeing?
I'm seeing it.
Yep, okay. So just a few slides here to walk us through our discussion tonight. Ridge Periodontics is proposing to construct a 4,052 square foot one-story building on vacant land at 3033 Hazelwood Street. They would operate a specialty dental clinic on this property. The property itself is just 1.86 acres in site. The site is currently owned by the Maplewood Moose Lodge. Some of the board might remember a couple of years ago, the Moose had purchased this site actually from the city of Maplewood, and we're proposing to move their Moose Lodge building and build a new building on this site. This site did not, in the end, work for their needs, and so they have located to a different building, an existing building near Highway 36 and Whitebear Avenue, and have been looking to sell this property, which brings us to tonight. To move forward, the applicant is seeking 2 approvals from the city of Maplewood. One is design review. That's what this group is looking at right now. And then they also need a conditional use permit because they're located within 350 feet of residential property. Later this evening, the Planning Commission will be reviewing that aspect and holding a public hearing. Both items then go to the City Council for a final decision in October and in January of next year. Thank you. So looking at the current controls of the property, the future land use by the 2040 comprehensive plan is commercial. The zoning is M1, light manufacturing. So the comp plan is guiding this property for commercial uses, and this proposed use of a specialty dental clinic does meet that standard set within the comp plan. Again, the light manufacturing zoning district does state as a conditional use that no building or exterior use except parking may be erected within 350 feet of a residential district without a conditional use permit. So the use itself is permitted. What we're needing the conditional use permit is just simply because the building is in proximity of residential property. So the clinic is a Maplewood business today, located at 2480 Whitebear Avenue. They've stated that they have outgrown their space, and which they are currently leasing, and they're looking to purchase this property to construct their own building to meet their needs for additional space. Again, for those who were involved and reviewed the Maplewood Moose project, you may recall that south portion of this site does have a few easements over it. There is a pipeline going through the south part of the site, the high tension power lines going above the site. And so that forces then the development pad to the north side of this site and does limit the buildable area of this property. So again, looking at those existing conditions of the pipeline, there is a setback requirement in our code of 100 feet from the pipeline itself. The building is actually proposed to be 50 feet from the north line of the easement. The staff does find this acceptable, and a similar request was approved with the Maplewood Moose Lodge property. You can see the code excerpt here that allows the city council to provide a waiver to this 100-foot standard. And so I mentioned the Moose received a similar waiver, and just more recent projects, the new proposed Menards building had a similar waiver that was applied. So we look at these on a case-by-case basis to ensure, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the building and everything is outside of the easement itself, and then look at the site constraints and work from there. So this is the proposed site plan. On this one, the building is looking north here, or to the right is north. So again, you can see the building is towards the north portion of the site. North of that is a filtration basin for stormwater management. To the south, or to the left then of the building, is where the parking would occur. Again, if you remember the Maplewood Moose Lodge, and again, this isn't a comparison between the two sites, but given the constraints of the site itself, this is how generally the site needs to be laid out, given the shape and the easements constraining the south side of the property. So the parking lot would be accessed off Hazelwood Street directly, and then the building would be, again, directly north of the parking lot. The drive aisle and parking stalls are all meeting the size standards as outlined by city ordinance. Ordinance would also require 21 parking stalls for this proposed use. 26 stalls are being provided in this proposed plan. So again, that ordinance requirement is being met, as are all building and parking lot setbacks. The building itself is being shown to be 16 feet in height. And then internal to the building itself, just for background on the use, 6 patient areas, office, bathrooms, reception, and a patient waiting area. The one thing we should note, and it's both in the conditions of approval that staff is recommending for the design review tonight, and also within the conditional use permit, there's a screening requirement between commercial properties and a residential property. So we are looking,
again, please.
There is a screening requirement.
Okay, well, thank you.
So the conditions do state that the applicant shall come back for staff approval of a screening element, whether it's a fence or a vegetation screen, again, year-round vegetation screen. I know the city members that have been on the board before tonight are well-versed in that requirement of a 6-foot screen, at least 80% opaque. So that's the standard that we would be looking towards. And again, the staff report mentions it needing to be close to the south side of the proposed parking lot. Here's the proposed landscaping plan, where you can see, again, vegetation around the building with some additional plantings near the basin and on the west and east side of the site. And then the building elevations that are proposed, you see the lap siding that's proposed on all sides of the building. That includes the trash enclosure that is proposed for the site. So the trash enclosure would match the building materials and color. And then as we move through, these were the renderings that were included with the staff report and packet tonight. So part of the staff review and the public comments in section found in your report, engineering and our environmental staff have reviewed this project and added their comments to the staff report. I would note in particular, engineering review did not note any major red flags or concerns, and just needing to meet our stormwater requirements, and also made mention that they believe that the applicant on the right path of doing that. And so that those elements would be checked again before any permits are being issued. And as part of this project, we did send staff sent a survey and a public hearing notice to all properties within 500 feet. It's a number of properties because of the condominium building right to the south. So just under 300 properties were noticed, and we received one phone call just with some general questions on the development itself, but no formal comments prior to the public hearing tonight. So again, Design Review Board, this group's looking at the design tonight. Later on this evening, the Planning Commission will look at the conditional use permit, and then the council will take a look at the entire package on January 10th. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the project as presented with the conditions outlined in your staff report. I know the applicant is present with representation. And if Mr. Chair, if you are so moved to let them address the board, otherwise staff can address questions from the board at any time. Thank you.
Okay. Board, do you have any comments for staff?
Mike, this may end up going to the applicant, but in looking at the roof design on this, it looks like it's got a pitched roof. I don't see any rooftop equipment, nor do I see any where those fixtures would be located on the outside of the building. Do you have a plan where that's located, where there, I don't know, HVAC equipment might be located on the
Sure.
outside?
Yeah, thank you, Chair and Board. Thanks for that question. I would defer that specific question to the applicant. Other than I'll add that, they would be required to screen it as ordinance requires for many surrounding residential properties, which we know are prominent to the east and south of this site. But I'll let the applicant speak more directly to that plan.
Okay. Well, why don't we just call on the applicant then to speak? Applicant, would you like to say something?
I guess that would be me. I'm Bob Schaefer with Foundation Architects. The mechanical equipment, we have an internal mechanical equipment room, so we have all furnaces inside the building. The condenser compressor units for the AC will be directly outside of that. Michael, do you have a floor plan?
I do. Just give me a moment to pull that up.
Or I could show one too.
Yeah, I can, if you have it readily available, I can let you share the screen.
Let me just pull that to the right page here.
Looks like that would be then on the west side of the building towards County Road D.
Correct.
Mechanical room.
Correct. It's kind of by the trash enclosure.
Okay.
So if you want to share it to me.
You should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. You should be able to see the plan here. Here's the front entrance, so that faces Hazelwood over here. Here's the trash enclosure over here. Mechanical room is kind of in this back area here. And we have 3 furnaces identified, and then the AC units will fit kind of right back over here. So they'll be pretty well shielded from everything.
Okay.
From everybody really. And because we have windows going out that way for all the treatment rooms, because it's kind of a nice view kind of over that pathway and stuff. Is there any other questions while I have this up? So, just briefly, I mean, I think Michael covered it all. My client is really excited to be here, and this is a very, very difficult site to build on. We kind of took some cues for how the Moose Lodge kind of set things up, just because there was really no other way to do it. And then tried to make the best of the site, and as we jokingly say, hide the towers. So you can't really hide those towers. They're pretty big, as you can see in the package. So we don't have them really shown a lot in our renderings, but we do have, you can see this tower kind of rising up over here. That's actually sort of the smaller one. The other one is the bigger truss, like metal truss tower.
Look at that night shot that was a couple of slides before. Yeah, so yeah, this is a good shot. My question is this amount of light going to be on throughout the night, or what? Is this a winter time 5 p.m. shot, or is this a summertime 10 p.m. shot?
It's probably a winter time 8 p.m. shot, if at best. No, the lights will be on a time clock and photocell. The owner wouldn't want them on all the time anyway. And all the lights are facing down. We have only a couple that face up that are blocked. The uplight is kind of hitting the roof line over in here, if you can see my cursor. And then we have a few around the back side of the building, the other side of the building too. But otherwise the lights are all facing down just to kind of light the building. And of course, we tried to make it look really nice in the rendering as well. So you can see into the building, there's no shades on anything and things like that.
So this is the southeast view. How is the lighting on for example, the northwest, where the two roads kind of come to an apex? Is it similar treatment of lighting?
It's sort of a similar. We don't have quite as much lighting because it's really not the front of the building, but we are lighting, around the whole building with some lights, like in between some of the windows, like we have here and here kind of. Here we have like a signage light. And then right in here, we have some lights that are just kind of lighting the columns and lighting that entrance area. And so we're trying to make sure it feels safe, it looks safe. And I think it's a nice building, and we have some security lighting kind of in that back door of the clinic, and then into the trash enclosure area as well, just so that it's not dark. But the rest of it isn't lit that much. So some of the security lighting will stay on probably longer, and then some of the lighting will go off earlier.
Is the lighting on the sign illuminated from the ground, or is that illuminated from the roof?
It's the underside of the roof line. There's a kind of a linear LED light there.
Would that be on timer too? Would that be on 24 hours, or at least on at night?
I don't think that's been determined yet. I would assume that we would be turning that off too, because it's facing the parking lot more than anything.
And I didn't see a plan. Is there any other signing outside of that? What is on the?
We haven't determined any of that as of yet. I know we have to go through a signage permit and stuff for that. So we'll go through the correct process for all that.
I have a site plan question for you. How much traffic is there at where County Road D and Hazelwood meet? And are you comfortable that the entrance to your site is far enough from that intersection point so that there's no mixing of traffic?
It should be pretty clear and visible kind of coming around that curve. We don't have a lot of, we aren't producing a lot of traffic. So a specialty clinic like this has probably the lowest traffic of any dental clinic you would see. I was there, I visited the site, I drove into, there's a couple curb cuts in there that you can drive into the property from. And I did that, and I was even doing it, and it started pouring while I was out there. And there was a lot of weekend traffic right then, which we're not, going to be dealing with a lot, but the weekend traffic would probably mimic some of the other traffic during the week. And it wasn't a problem at all. I could see everywhere. And really one of the curb cuts is really about the same spot as our curb cut is, the one where I came out of. So I don't see it as being a problem. Certainly people might drive too fast, and so you have to be careful, I guess, just as we would anywhere. But I would say that, we're far enough from that stop sign and intersection to make it work pretty well.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I've been in that area quite a bit, and I hardly ever see any cars on that street.
What are the present hours of the business now?
That's a good question. I don't know. I do know that we have.
Hi, this is Rebecca.
Rebecca's here, who is the business manager at the clinic.
Our current office hours are 8 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 until 8 p.m., 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Thursday, and 8 until noon on Friday.
Tell me what is a specialty dental clinic as it regards to just a regular dental clinic? What's the difference?
We are a periodontal clinic, so we see patients who have been referred by their general dentist to our office for specialty periodontal treatment, gum disease treatment.
Okay.
And Rebecca, how long is a typical treatment for a patient?
A typical treatment appointment for a patient, it really varies depending on treatment, but it's probably anywhere from 1 to 2 hours is probably the most common.
Yeah, I would think that with periodontal work, that nobody's going to be in a rush to get in there, so they're going to be driving pretty slow.
Yeah, but they're just going to want to see the building.
Yeah. That's true. It's attractive, I think.
But once they get out of the building, they're in a real hurry to get home. I'm just kidding. Can you go over your exterior materials, please, and explain why you chose those exterior materials?
Would you like me to go to one of the renderings?
Yes.
If you could go to page A201.
Okay. The materials we chose were sort of based on some early design kind of decisions that were being made. We used the lap siding and actually kind of a bigger lap siding. So there's 2 different sizes. Both are slightly oversized to fit the scale and proportion of the building. And then we actually reversed the finish colors onto what we sort of jokingly call the tower, which is really this piece here, which isn't much of a tower, but that's where this seminar room is, under that part. So
Can you point that out again, please?
What's that?
Can you point that out again, that where your tower is?
That's this part.
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
So it's not really much taller than the rest of the building, so it's not much of a tower, I guess. But
yeah.
It started out a little taller, so we were kind of playing with it as a tower earlier. And then the seminar room is inside of there for the higher ceiling and bigger visibility and things. And the seminar room serves as kind of a dual hybrid purpose too. So it's a seminar room for very limited uses of that. And then the rest of the time it acts as a larger break room or a meeting room for the clinic itself, for the staff and people. And so most of the time it's a standard kind of staff lounge, staff break room.
Questions I have is, it looks like you've got a 3-coat stucco around the base of the building.
Correct.
It goes up a little bit taller around that front entrance where people are going to be, entering. Snow will need to be shoveled.
Mm-hmm.
What are the concerns about long-term maintenance of that type of a finish at grade around that front entrance area?
We're putting like extra mesh in there and stuff to make sure that it's strong and can hold up under kind of abuse that would be there. Certainly if somebody's not careful, they can damage any material that we put there. So we tried to put a little more durable material at the base than just siding, I guess. But I didn't want to go to the level of putting stone down there, because I think it just makes this building would have made it a little heavy. So the stucco was a good way of kind of rusticating the base a little bit and making it look like a base for the building.
Most of the projects we have seen in the past, we don't say go to stone, but many of the retail shops, they don't have stucco down at the bottom as a wainscot. They go either precast concrete, or they go brick, or they go a burnished block, which in my mind is a lot more durable at grade than a stucco finish.
Well, a lot of the more recent stucco finishes we've been seeing on buildings have been kind of synthetic stucco over foam, and those typically don't hold up very well because they're soft inside, so they can get damaged really easily. This is an actual stucco coat, so it should be relatively, certainly if you ram a snow blower into it or something, you could damage it, but that's fixable.
But this will be a troweled on, like a troweled on with metal lath.
Correct, an actual stucco.
But what is the metal lath attached to on the backside? Is it plywood? What is the substrate?
The whole building is a SIPS panel. So it's a structurally insulated panel system. So there's an OSB panel back there. And then we have the recommended layers of water resistant barrier back in there and everything. So it's
Is
a
it
very,
resistant to,
excuse me?
is that resistant to ice melt? And for example, that close to the street, if there is a street ice melt that's being sprayed on at icy times, is that going to hold up to that too?
It should be able to do just fine. Yeah, actually, it'll do better than most. It should do better than most concrete block, because a lot of concrete blocks are really, really sensitive to salt. And some of the, we're also really cautious around salt with the synthetic stone as well, because that is actually really affected by salts as well. So this to me was a safer option than using some of the materials that are often used, other than maybe real stone, that some of it is fine with salt, some of it's not.
I'm okay with the stucco because for a few reasons is that it's set far enough back from the street that there should be no influence of street salt, and is set back from the parking lot quite a bit. The entrance is covered. It's also on the east side, which tends to not drift very much. I don't think you're going to have very much snow accumulation anyway compared to other parts of the building. So I have no problem with the stucco that you are proposing at all.
Any other questions I can help, or should I get off? Let you guys do your business.
I see a roof sloping all the way to one end there. What are you providing for rainwater and snow at the low end of the roof?
There we have the civil drawings have kind of a recessed area for drainage down to the pond from there. So we're sort of collecting it and then draining it away. And then our landscape plan has some bushes and stuff that are supposed to kind of handle that area. We do have a gutter and downspout on the taller part of the roof, because that would drain onto the back exit entry. And so we wanted to protect that, but the rest of it's draining off onto ground, and sheet drains kind of into a recessed area that has yard drains.
What is the roofing material being used on this roof? Is it a membrane or is it a standing seam metal roof?
It's a membrane on there.
Go back to that night shot, please, if you can.
Sure.
So the light on the signage, the way I'm reading it, the top line is being lit better than the bottom line. My preference would be that the whole wall would be lit uniformly, or that the lighting be slightly modified, that your entire, all the lines of your signage are lit uniformly.
The lighting that we're using is actually a specific LED light fixture for signage like this. So I think part of what you're seeing is the weakness of our rendering program more than reality. Because the light should actually travel all the way down to the ground, almost in an even path, the way the light fixture is built. And certainly it'll be brighter at the top than at the bottom, but not as dramatic as what's showing in our rendering.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the different shadings that this would provide. And also, if anybody's looking for the place, I mean, it's the only building that is even remotely of this purpose in that area. So I don't think anybody's going to have a problem finding it.
No, I don't have any problem with the overall lighting. What my comment was specifically related to the wall where the signage is. And I think he addressed that comment.
Okay. So, board, any more comments or questions, etc.? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the design plans for the proposed dental clinic, date stamped November 30th, 2021 at 3033 Hazelwood Street North. I do not have any amendments to add to what staff has, so items 1 through 14 as outlined in our CDRB packet.
Okay.
I'll second that, but I would like to make a friendly amendment.
Go ahead, I would welcome that.
I would like to propose that the applicant provide physical samples of the exterior of the building to staff for review.
The only other question, I'd like to ask staff one question, and then the mechanical equipment that will be at grade on the west side of the building would face County Road D. On a commercial property, is there any code requirements to put screening, like a fence screening to the height of that equipment on that west side of the building, staff?
If it's not in, Sharon Board, if it's not in view of residential properties, then no, there's not any minimum code standard to require that.
It looks from the landscape plan like there's a good amount of landscaping closer to the road that I think will screen it from the road. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing. I'm assuming for a building this size, those units aren't going to be excessive in size, but it's hard to tell without them being rendered to scale on the plan.
Yeah, they kind of look like 3 residential compressor condensers to me.
So then I'm not going to make a motion to add screening around those.
Okay. What do you feel about the friendly amendment about providing materials to staff to review?
I would accept that friendly amendment. There's a lot of colors going on in this design, and I think it's has the potential to be a really good building, but I would like staff to be able to put their eyes on those samples if they haven't physically reviewed the material palette, just to see if there's, when they're all sitting next to each other, if they look the same as they do in a rendering.
All right, thank you, Jason. And now to your second stands then.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll call it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the design review for this building, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, it passes. Good luck with the planning commission. I heard those people are real killers. So good luck on getting through that. Of course, I'm kidding. I see that Paul Arbuckle is on the meeting listening in. So
Well, I thank you for the review. We'll get samples once we've gotten a little further along in the drawings and permitting. We'll get it to you, Michael.
Yes, correct.
Yep. So we'll get that pulled together. We don't have them as yet, but we'll get them for that.
Okay. Well, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Chair and board, I'll just interject that the planning commission meeting as referenced starts at 7. For those attending for this item, it's this same Zoom link, so you can hang out if you want or leave and come back at 7.
Okay. Thank you. Next item of business is the 2021 Community Design Review Board Annual Report. Staff report, please.
Thanks, Chair and board. Just a quick, a quick item from staff. As code requires every year, the CDRB provides an annual report to the city council. The last several years, this annual report from the Design Review Board has been folded into a larger community development report. And I'll just show, for the sake of our new member here and anyone else watching in tonight, on what that means. So like last year, we created a web-based annual report. And so this is, I'm just showing the website here where we had our general welcome to the report itself, and then it goes right into the various commissions, that's community development staff. So we had same setup as or outline of the report itself as presented to you tonight, where we have a review of the previous year. So again, this year we're looking at 2021, and then major projects highlighted throughout the city, throughout the year that the Design Review Board reviewed, and then looking ahead to 2021. So again, last year we did this via the website. In previous years, we've done a physical book that gets presented, and you can see this is the 2-page spread that gives you an overview of what the Design Review Board has submitted to the City Council in the past. So what you have tonight is just a Word document. This is not where we intend to end with, but we wanted to get the sign off from the board since we had a December meeting, which we don't always have December meetings. So we wanted to take advantage of the fact that we were to have you review the verbiage, provide any feedback, and then we're going to decide on a staff level what's the best way to present both the board's report along with the community development as a whole, whether again it's an online vehicle or if we're going to go back to some kind of physical artifact. So the 2021 actions and activities, just again a year in review. You hopefully you've had a chance to review that, where the board reviewed several projects on the 3M campus, notable new buildings at Scooter's Coffee on Stillwater Road, and then some preservation of some affordable housing, where you reviewed the proposed renovations of Maplewood Gardens, and then new housing buildings. More than 200 units of housing was approved via this board for the last year, with 100 of the bulk of those coming at the London Lower Afton apartments on London Lane, and then the American Cooperative on Lake Phelan, where there's about 60 units proposed to be built there of cooperative housing. So the number of items that this board reviewed actually was a slight increase from last year, and fairly consistent when you look at the last several years. So you can take a look through the major projects that staff has identified, and then looking into next year, we do have some identified ordinance reviews that we're looking to do. And as the board knows, we looked at some ordinances this past year, and we want to continue that work. Namely, we're looking at the R3 multiple dwelling district. That's apartments, multifamily housing. That district was created in 1982 and really hasn't been touched since then. So we know that we're seeing more multifamily buildings, obviously, and we want to make sure that that ordinance is updated and puts us in a good position to move forward. We're also wanting to look at our additional design standards. That's how it's referenced in the code. Those are a lot of the items that this group looks at. So setbacks, screening requirements, parking requirements. So we expect the board to be heavily involved in those ordinance reviews into next year. So with that, that's, excuse me, just an overview of the annual report as presented. And I'd look for any feedback from the board tonight on if there's anything you'd like to see added or other things to look at in 2022. Otherwise, staff would like a motion seeking approval of the staff report, or I'm sorry, of the annual report.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second, and whatever mode that you dispense it, the website or an artifact version. I thought the website was really well put together last year. I mean, I know there was work put into that, and it was a different year that we were in. But if you went with that model again, I think it really, I liked the mapping feature that allowed people to see where all of this activity that, this board and the city staff are reviewing are happening. Because I think it connects them to their neighborhoods and what's all happening.
I appreciate that feedback. That's well taken. Thank you.
The only comment that I might make is, Mr. Chair, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Is there any value of comparing Maplewood to other cities of similar size? I suppose those cities do not have a design review board. They probably have a planning commission. I was thinking of comparing the number of projects reviewed by Maplewood to, say, Roseville or Little Canada or White Bear or whatever, but maybe we cannot do that because they don't have a design review board. Is that right?
Board and chair, that's you've hit on it right there, is that design review board is not a common stop in city processes. North St. Paul namely does. Outside of that, and cities review projects in very different ways, and some cities, like, everything goes through planning commission, city council, and other cities not everything goes, or hardly anything goes, and so it is hard to make that measurement without digging deeper into, well, what's required to go. You can't just look at number of items reviewed, because you could look at Lake Elmo, a lot smaller city, but they have tons of items on other agendas because they have tons of developments proposed, and everything has to be approved. No, there's no staff level approvals in Lake Elmo, just as one example. So it is hard to make that comparison.
Okay.
The only one thing that we maybe could look at, Mike, in kind of connection to what Anant referenced there is, I know some communities have tighter building material or architectural standards that they implement. And sometimes those communities are building everything from scratch. And so they can put them in place and they can develop whole areas that have a common, construction theme. Maplewood, we have a lot of infill stuff that's happening, so we can't necessarily do that. But what might be helpful for us is if we were able to incorporate next year as an action for this board, is just to maybe pull the architectural standards, if there's building materials standards in some of the surrounding communities around Maplewood, so that as we're doing our design reviews, I'm not saying we need to adopt those standards, but we could take that into account where different parts of Maplewood are meeting up with other communities adjacent.
Specifically, for instance, is any other city allowing stucco or something at the base of the building?
It would be a great example. It was exactly where I was thinking, what I was thinking enough, because it's not a common base material today. I mean, my first house in Maplewood had stucco on it, and I would say, I don't know, it's 1939, so it's ages old, but you don't see it in a lot of new construction that's happening. Doing a 3-part stucco at grade.
Yeah, I've seen it on residential single-family houses, but I've not seen it in commercial.
Yeah,
Kohl's or Target or whatever,
and I think the activity, at the previous project is going to be low enough that the impact to it is likely not, and that's why I don't think it was a concern. But that may be something we take into account on higher traffic buildings, where we may move, away from that. But it would be helpful, I think, to just see, because that would be, so that's all I would ask for next year, maybe as maybe a potential review that we could incorporate into one of our meetings.
Yeah, Chair Board, I think that's a great comment and great direction of to put on the work plan and something to look at for next year.
Other than that, your annual report, you capture the work that you've prepared and reviewed with this board really well, Mike. And I think that I would second Bill's motion on the annual report approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Let's call it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any dissent? Hearing none, that motion passes. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is unfinished business. Staff, anything?
Chair and Board, staff does not have anything further for you tonight.
Okay, anything? Let's see. Then visitor presentations. Do we have any?
No.
Looks like none. Next will be board presentations, and we have a new member, Tom Osmond.
Osmond.
Yep, Osmond. Yep. Yeah, your name disappeared from my list for a moment there, so
Yeah.
had to go from memory. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be part of this, and thank you for letting me jump in right away and ask questions. I appreciate that. A lifelong Maplewood resident, and professionally, right now, I am a construction project manager for Target. So I'll work nationwide, a lot on the West Coast, on doing remodels and some new buildings, do some real estate acquisitions, warehousing. Luckily, sales have been great for Target right now, so I'm very, very busy, and we're doing hundreds of projects a year. And really looking forward to bringing some of that experience here to my hometown, and looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
And you don't want to hear anything about us, correct?
Pardon me?
And you don't want to hear anything about us.
I'd love to hear anything about
it. I was just kidding.
Ananth is the elder statesman. He's been on this board. Was it 1994, Ananth?
Yeah, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah. It's a good group, and when we have review items, speak up often and provide your feedback. It's what the community is looking for.
Okay. I'm Bill Kempe. I'm the chair, and I've been on this board for, well, I don't remember how long, but a long time. Not as long as Anant, though, but I've been last few months I've been away because I do disaster inspections, and so I was in New Jersey responding to Hurricane Ida. But I'm back home now, and I'm looking forward to getting involved with these meetings again. And I think even if coming up, as long as we stick to Zoom, I can probably still participate. So. Anything else from the board?
I just wanted to add my thing to Tom. I'm an architect, but I resigned from my firm after working there for many years early in 2021. So then my wife said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm still going to be on the Maplewood Design Review Board. And so that made her happy.
That's fantastic. And then just my background, I've got a degree in architecture, but I'm in the building materials industry. I've worked for building material manufacturers for the past 14 years. And we make everything from clay brick to manufactured stone to siding, clay, concrete, steel roofing, pretty much any material you can clad the outside of a building with. My company has various manufacturing plants throughout the country that produce a lot of those different products. So, yeah, I think we've got a great diversity of members now on this board.
Michael, is there anything you can tell us about the new member who's not able to join us today?
Yeah, Chair and Board. Her name is Amanda Reinhardt. She's an architect by trade, and she just wasn't able, traveling out of town to an area with not reliable internet for tonight. So she wouldn't have been able to attend in person or online, but she we will have a meeting in January, and she is planning to be present for that. And hopefully everyone will be able to attend and meet her then in January.
When you say architect by trade, I am an architect by profession. So what is the difference?
Just linguistics. Yes, by profession as well. So
Okay,
she's paid to be an architect.
good.
Unlike me, I'm not paid to be an architect. I just
There
went
you
to
go.
school for it.
I went to school to be a writer and they don't pay me to write, only emails. So
I still hold my license even though I don't have a full-time job. So
There you go.
Okay, I think we're done with board presentations. Staff, anything else?
Chair and board, nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn the meeting for the Design Review Board on December 21st.
I will
second
second
it.
that. Oh, we'll give it to Anat.
All right.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.
Any dissent? Good. We're done.
Merry Christmas.
And
Happy New
welcome,
Year.
Tom.
Merry Christmas. Thanks.
everybody.
Thank you for the welcome tonight.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Go do your
thanks everyone
Christmas
for
shopping now.
attending.